For today's recipe, Link will be joined by IQ, GASTRO Bob, and backed up as always by Guinea Page and the Animal Crackers.
Today, we're gonna make apple oatmeal pancakes. Here's what you'll need. 1 medium apple, 2 eggs, half a teaspoon of fine sea salt, half a teaspoon of cinnamon, 1 tablespoon of honey, 2 tablespoons of butter, 1/4 cup of all-purpose flour, 1/4 cup of whole wheat flour, 1 tablespoon of baking powder, 1 cup of plain yogurt, 1 cup of milk, and 1/4 cup of rolled oats. We're using the large flake, old-fashioned kind. Usually when you're making pancakes, you mix all your dry ingredients in one bowl and all your wet ingredients in another bowl. But with our apple oatmeal pancakes, there's a few additional steps. These rolled oats aren't the quick cooking instant kind, so we'll let them soak in our yogurt, milk, and honey. So let's start by mixing together our yogurt, milk, and honey. Now we'll add our rolled oats. The oats are gonna absorb the liquid while we prepare the rest of our recipe. We're gonna use the whole apple, so there's no need to peel it. It's always best to use the whole of a food. We're gonna grate it. And I know the person with the perfect kitchen utensil. Secret agent man? Secret agent man? This'll definitely do the trick. Thanks, Secret Agent Man. A grater! Hey, Blink, we gotta know. Please explain. Tell us then, what's a grater? Sure, a grater is a handy kitchen tool that shreds your foods like apples or cheeses when you slide it against its side. But be careful, if it's sharp enough to grate your food, you can get hurt. In a large bowl, we'll combine our whole wheat and all-purpose flour, our salt, and cinnamon. This is baking powder. This 1 tablespoon doesn't seem like a lot, but it has the ability to rise amongst all these ingredients. Ha 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 ha! What's the scoop, IQ?
Well, Link, baking powder is great for putting a rise in doughs and batters, for quick breads, biscuits, cakes, and of course, pancakes. That's because it's a kind of leavening agent. By agent, I don't mean a spy or someone undercover. By agent, I mean a substance that acts in a particular way. Baking powder is a leavening agent because the substance acts by lifting other ingredients.
Speaking of ingredients, I've taken lots of care to soak our oats and shred our apples. It'd be a shame to mix all our ingredients together and discover that our baking powder has expired and lost its leavening ability. Hey, Gastro Bob, is there a way to check if our baking powder still has its POW and can do its job?
You know how, Link, with science.
You're right, Gastro Bob. Let's test the power of our leavening agent, baking powder.
Prepare for experimentation.
We'll add 1 teaspoon of baking powder.
And to it, we'll add a little bit of water. It's bubbling, it's fizzling, ha ha!
It stopped bubbling.
Now add some heat, Link.
Okay, we'll put it in the microwave for 15 to 20 seconds.
It's bubbling, it's fizzling again.
The heat makes the baking powder start bubbling again. What made that happen, IQ?
Baking powder is a combination of a base and an acid. In their dry powdered form, they won't react. But when you add liquid, those two powdery ingredients create a chemical reaction. The bubbling you're seeing is carbon dioxide. It'll help lift your batter so you get light and fluffy pancakes. Most baking powders you find at the grocery store are what we call double acting. The first act in double acting comes when you add liquid. You get that instant bubbling. Then, after you give it heat, the baking powder will bubble up again for your second act. That's what we mean by double acting. It gives you some leavening when you stir up your batter and some leavening again when you cook your batter.
It's double acting. Double acting. And that's what baking powder is, my friend. So, the baking powder does the lifting. Without it, you'll have a case of the badly behaving batter. Isn't that right, Detective?
Flat and flabby. This is a sad day for pancakes. I see no evidence of bubbles, so either the pancakes didn't have enough leavening agent like baking powder, or the baking powder was expired, or the pancake batter sat around for too long before it was cooked. The moral of this sad state of affairs is, if you want light and fluffy pancakes, you want the double action of baking powder to do double duty in your batter.
Now that we know our baking powder is working, we'll add it to our mixture and continue with our recipe. We'll whisk together our eggs. We'll add them and our melted butter to our yogurt and milk mixture. Now on to our dry ingredients. We'll lightly mix them till they're all combined. When making a batter, it's a good idea to do as few strokes as possible. Believe it or not, a lumpy batter means a light batter.
That's because flour has proteins in it called gluten. Gluten becomes activated when liquid is added. Now, if we were making bread, that gluten would give us the chewy, firm texture we like. But we want fluffy, tender pancakes, so the less you stir, the less gluten develops.
Thanks for the tip, IQ. We have one more ingredient to add to our mixture. Apples. I'm going to use a large spatula to fold them in. When you want to add something to a mixture and you don't want to disturb the bubbles made from baking powder, it's a good idea to use a spatula instead of a whisk. The spatula lifts instead of stirs. Before we get cooking, let's get cleaning. But we don't want our batter to sit for too long. So lab rat, speed dial please. Ready to make our pancakes. I've been heating this large skillet over medium heat. We'll add some oil. And just like we tested our baking powder to make sure it was still active, we're gonna make sure our skillet is at the right temperature. How? By making a quarter-sized pancake as a test. If the skillet's too hot, the sides of your pancake will burn before the insides get cooked. If your skillet's not hot enough, well, you remember how when we added heat to the baking powder, it began to bubble again? You want your skillet just hot enough to get it to
Double acting.
It should take about a minute per side for a small pancake of this size. It's golden brown and looks fluffy. Our skillet's at the perfect temperature. We want all our pancakes to be about the same size so they have the same cooking time. About a quarter cup of batter should do. You want to leave room between your pancakes because the batter will spread out. Each side should take about 2 to 3 minutes, or until the bottom begins to golden and the bubbles at the top begin to pop. My skillet isn't large enough to cook all the pancakes at once, so we'll put the cooked pancakes into the oven that I preheated to 200 degrees. I placed a wire rack on top of a baking sheet. This will allow the heat to circulate around the pancakes. If we stack them, the warmth and the moisture will create steam and deflate those wonderful air bubbles. And we want fluffy pancakes, not spongy ones, right? Now we're ready to flip. Yes! Hello, Gastro Blasters. Who knew that apple oatmeal pancakes could sing with ing? We had the soaking of rolled oats, the grating of apples, the leavening of double acting, baking powder, and the folding of batter. And of course, the flipping of pancakes. I guess the next ing is eating and enjoying, thrown in with some oohing and eyeing. Or my name isn't chip dipping. Done. Who wants pancakes?
I do.
Double stack for me. Our recipe makes about a dozen pancakes, which is enough to serve about 4 to 6 people. I'm gonna have mine with maple syrup. Thanks for your help today, IQ.
No problem, Link. Thanks for the lunch.
Gastro